Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm back, baby! Just in time for Christmas. I've been gone for a while, but this doll has been a long time coming. I actually drew the design for this doll a while back, 4 years ago, and now I'm finally here to show her in doll form. Without further ado, let's get artistic and see what comes from my mind today. For this doll, I used a Generation 2 Draculaura, mainly for her already pointed ears. I already cut her factory hair down to the base. Then I took an air gun to soften her head and pull it off the neck peg. After the head is off, I take some acetone and use cotton pads and swabs to remove the factory paint off of her face. Once that's done, I take a flat tool and scrape the inside of the head and loosen up all the glued hair plugs. Once they're all loosened, I pull the hair out with pliers and tweezers. Now that I have a clean base, it's time to change the color of the body and face. I want more of a pale tone to her skin, so I'm taking some highly pigmented pan pastels to lighten the body. Spray the body with sealant in between coats to build up the color. Move the joints around to get the pigment into all those nooks and crannies. The color will eventually chip and crack around the joints, but the difference between the pale skin tone and the original pink isn't that great, so I'm not worried about it. Off screen, I plugged new hair using acrylic yarn strands. Because the yarn is thick, I didn't have to plug every hole in the head. I also didn't bother to worry about any part line because she'll have a messy pixie cut and she'll be wearing a hat. The face chipped a little bit while I was plugging the hair, so I'm going to fix that after wrapping the hair away with a spare piece of fabric and some pins. This goes to prove you should do the hair first before the face. Once the hair is wrapped and pinned out of the way, I'm going to take more of my pastel powders and fix the cracked skin tone as well as adding some blushing. I want her to look like she's been out in the cold, so I'm adding some light pinks and reds around her cheeks and nose. A little Jack Frost nipping at your nose vibes going. I start mapping out the eyebrows with an angled brush and some green powder to match her hair. Eyebrows are the hardest part for me because getting them symmetrical is a real pain. I take my time and move the head around to get them as symmetrical as possible. Once I get them mapped out, I add some light eyeshadow and some blushing before I spray Mr. Super Clear UV Cut Flat Sealant to save my work. The sealant darkens the pigment a little, so once it's cured, I can add some more pastels to build up layers on the colors that I want to be more vibrant. Something I learned to do when working with precision is to use your pinky finger to stabilize the rest of your hand, so that your lines aren't super shaky and less controlled. After adding some color to her lips, I spray her again and wait 30 minutes for the sealant to cure. In this layer, I will start sketching out the eyes with a light watercolor pencil. Flipping the head upside down is a good way of maintaining symmetry, so that's what I do to make the eyes the same size and face the same direction. I want the eyes to be looking forward, so I draw them relatively center but slightly to the one side. If you draw them too center, you run the risk of making them look cross-eyed, so be careful. Building the whites of the sclera is the hardest thing to do with colored pencils alone, so I just mark them lightly first and then I'll go back in with paint later. I also use the white pencil to add some highlights along the top lip and the bridge of her nose. I add some more blushing as needed and build up more color on her lips before spraying her with more sealant and waiting for the next layer. Next is just going over the previous layer with darker and darker pencils, touching up the pigments as I go. This is where I start to finesse things and put in details like wispy hairs on the eyebrows and lines on the lips. I made her eyes a nice golden yellow, trying to simulate the big gold ornaments on a Christmas tree. Another spray of MSC, and I can start with the finer details and the eyes. Taking some watered down acrylic paint, I start layering gold and yellow in the irises. I also take some gray and add the shadows in the sclera. This really gave her a seductive and sultry look, almost like she's looking down at you. It also makes her eyes look really sleepy, and I really like it. I built up some more yellow and gold in the irises and made the eyeliner and eyelashes white. I really liked this detail in my original design, not only because it made her look extra seductive, but it also symbolizes the winter snow. Time for one of my favorite parts, adding the pupil. I feel like it really brings the eyes to life and makes it even more vibrant. A couple more brush strokes and she's ready for another layer. For this last layer, I ended up redoing the irises, so I gotta put the pupils back and add some catch lights that really brings the whole face together. With a little more details added with a white pencil, her face is ready for the final touches. I used Dragonfly Glaze in a red-violet shift to bring some gloss and shimmer to the lips so they can look as sweet as a sugar plum. I also decided to dust her face with some silver micro glitter. The idea was to make her look sparkling like a layer of frozen snow in the winter morning. And with that, we spray our last layer of MSC and her face is done. While her face is curing one final time, I took the opportunity to paint her nails a nice green. With her face all done, I can unwrap her hair and begin styling. First thing, I take a pet brush and starting from the bottom, I brush the yarn, working my way up to the scalp. Once the yarn is all brushed out, I take a flat iron on low and slowly straighten the wefts one piece at a time. I pass the flat iron through the same piece a couple of times to make sure the yarn is nice and straight and undamaged. After the whole head has been straightened, I can start cutting. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm not a hairstylist. I have an idea in my head and I work slow and steady with scissors and a razor blade and cut until it looks like what I imagined. Her hairstyle is a messy pixie cut anyway, so being a little choppy works well in my favor. Plus, she'll be wearing a hat later, so it's fine. It's fine. I was working at a steady pace and this doll was coming out nicely, and she was ready to be released by Christmas of 2021.
2,000 years later.
Yeah, so it's been 4 years. Life got in the way and a lot of changes happened in my life. One of them included moving. But I'm in my new place and finally ready to finish this doll. As you can see, I did make her outfit, but over the years, I saw how badly the sewing held up. It was falling apart in places, and I just really didn't like it anymore, so I decided to make her a new and improved outfit. Using several patterns I found on Etsy, I made an off-shoulder bodice with red fabric and a fluffy collar and sleeve cuffs. I also made an underbust corset with green fabric, as well as other Christmassy additions I will show you later. Placing and pinning the patterns on the fabric, I used my rotary blade and some scissors to cut the pieces out. Later, I switched out the fabrics of the dress to a more velvet material to add some texture. I also changed the type of bodice as well, so that's the pattern you see here. Both the skirt and the bodice were cut on the fold of the fabric, so that the sides were mirrored and less sewing was needed. I opted to hand stitch the majority of this outfit because I didn't want the fabric to get stuck in my machine, and so I had more control over the needle and thread. I haven't quite mastered the sewing machine yet, especially with smaller clothes. With the collar and cuffs added to the bodice, I sewed the side seams and sleeves together, then attached it to the skirt, hemmed by cutting small notches along the bottom and gluing it on itself with fabric glue. After the dress is together, I need to sew the back and leave just a little bit so that the booty can go through. I iron on Velcro to close up the rest of the dress. Some adjusting here and there is needed to make the dress more form-fitting, and this part is done. Next is the corset. I cut out the patterns the same way I did the dress and sew in the darts, then the side pieces. I use more fabric glue to make the edges look nice, and I add snaps this time for a better, snugger fit. To make it look like it's been laced up in the front, I take some embroidery string with needles on each side and sew in a crisscross pattern down the corset, like so. I then glue the ends to the back to keep them in place. For special editions, I drew a simple leaf template to cut out several holly leaves that will circle the corset to give it a more traditional elf look. First, I sew them together like a skirt, and then I sew them to the underside of the corset. I wanted to add a little something, so I took some small bells from an old pair of earrings and sewed them to the bottoms of the leaves. Here we are, a cute little elfie corset. But it was still missing something, so I added a large bow in the back I made out of a green glittery ribbon. I sew it to the back to hide the snaps, and there you are, a cute wintry dress and corset fit for a Christmas elf. I followed Dollightful's Santa hat tutorial. I will link it in the description box below, and I made a cute hat out of the same material as the dress, and added the same fluffy trim, as well as a white puff ball to the tip. Later on, I even heat pressed a holly berry and some leaves to it as well with heat transfer vinyl and an iron. Next up is her boots. I found these in my shoe stock box and started painting them. I painted the already gold boots with some more gold and copper paints. After it dries, I paint on a darker color, then wipe it off, leaving it only in the deepest crevices. You can really see the difference here. Then I dry brushed some white on top to highlight and bring up the designs on the boots. It was missing a little something, so I painted the heel and toe a shiny red to match the dress, as well as bring out some details of the buckles and filigree. I also glued on some more of those white puff balls to the front to match the hat. After some more details, I think we are finally ready. Here she is. Oh my gosh, this was one hell of a project. To those who are still with me even after my almost 4-year break, I'm so thankful to you for staying with me. I am finally in a good place in life and I'm wanting to do way more with this channel, so look forward to more consistency from me going into the new year. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for a future video, leave them in the comments below. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.